Good morning, American Dream Makers. I am your host today, and it is a beautiful morning, and I have an amazing guest today. This is Steve Rizzo. He is the attitude adjuster. He's shifting attitudes across the globe. Think, laugh, and enjoy your way to success with him. He is an author, a coach, a speaker, and all around great guy. And let's bring him on and let's get this party started. Steve Rizzo. Hello.
I'm an all-around great guy. That's me.
Yes, you are.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Steve. And you are phenomenal. I just, from the first time I met you and listening to you, I could tell that you were a man of a lot of wisdom who'd been through a lot of things. And you've been through a lot of ups and downs, high successes, and just inspirational. So I'm so excited to have you on here once again on American Dream Makers because you are absolutely an American Dream Maker for sure. So, Steve, without further ado, for those that maybe are tuning in for the first time of hearing you on my show, give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Wow. That's a tough question because it's not a little bit, but I will tweak it. I was voted least likely to succeed my senior class in high school. I was told by a guidance counselor in 8th grade in front of my mom and dad that I wasn't smart enough to go to college. It was that type of negative labeling that molded the direction for a great part of my life. Unknowingly, they become my negative labels. My belief system was don't try and you can't fail because they just didn't think I was good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough. I did go to college 6 years after high school. And it wasn't easy for me. I got a lot of tutors. I was dedicated to turn my life around. I graduated on the university level with high honors. I got degrees in English, education, a minor in psychology, a master's in theater arts. And I went back to the same school that I graduated from, where I was voted least likely to succeed. I became an English teacher and a counselor for kids with behavioral problems. And then a major shift took place in my life. And while I was doing the teaching gig at night, I was doing stand-up comedy at night at the clubs in New York City on Long Island. And I got really good at that. And I left the teaching business and became a stand-up comedian. And did that for over 20 years. I headlined comedy clubs, theaters, colleges throughout the country, did a lot of TV stuff, had my own Showtime special, and I was nominated by Woody Harrelson as a Showtime comedy all-star. My career was cranking. By the way, when I did stand-up back in the day, my opening acts, the people that opened for me were Chris Rock, Rosie O'Donnell, Drew Carey, Sam Kinison. I shared the marquee with Rodney Dangerfield, Eddie Murphy, Jerry Seinfeld, and another shift took place. And at the pinnacle of my stand-up career, when the industry was really interested in me, when all the comedians are going, you're going to be the next one, you're going to be the next guy, I decided I didn't want to do stand-up anymore. And I followed my true purpose in life, and that was to become a personal development speaker. It wasn't an easy move. There was a lot of fear, but I did it. And it's the best move I ever did. I use my comedic skills as a strategy. So what I do is I use the comedic skills to attract the audience, to get them in, to wean them in, because the attention span of the average audience today is very minimal, very minimal. I always say, unless a speaker has some kind of entertaining value, you run the risk of losing their attention because they immediately, they'll start doing this as you're talking. So I always do my 10 minutes to make people laugh first. They get to like me. You could see they're relaxed, they're enthusiastic. And then I gradually show them step by step how to transform their lives from failure to success, from unhappiness to fulfillment, and from lack to abundance. and it's all done in an entertaining manner. And I realized that that's why I spent all those years as a comedian, because it's my one of my major strategies to captivate the audience. But having done the speaking thing for 25 years now, um, I've always had two gifts. God gave me two incredible gifts: the ability to make people laugh and the ability to tell a story. But when I wrote my latest book, Conversations with Bob, I realized that I had something. Even you have the copy of the book right there. What a pro! What a pro! When I started writing that book at another low point in my life, I realized even a greater gift than the humor and the art of storytelling was my ability to be vulnerable to the audiences and not afraid to tell them how I screwed up, realizing that that's why I was put on this planet, to let people know that we're making our lives more difficult than it has to be. You can follow your dream, which is why I love the title of your podcast. You can you can follow your dream. You are the creator of your success and happiness. And I proved it to myself. I went from way down here to up here, and I went down here again, and I messed this up and I messed that up. But now I'm at a point where I am just, I don't want to say, I don't want to sound like I'm boasting, but who gives a crap? I'm in control of my life. I know where I am. I love where I am. I'm not afraid to make mistakes, because I realize now my greatest mistakes have become my greatest blessings. My greatest challenges have become my greatest blessings. When anyone can get to that point, when you can get to the point where you can look back and say, I learned from that, and you feel empowered, that's the main reason why we're on this planet. That is the number one reason why we're on this planet.
Wow.
We're here on this planet to experience, to learn, to grow, and to become the best person that we can be. And what I mean by that is how you experience all of the things that happen to you, the things that you label as good or bad, right, wrong, fair or unfair, will determine what you learn. That continued learning leads to your continued growth. That continued growth paves the way to who and what you become. And our job is to become the very best person that we can be, regardless of our circumstances. And that all depends on the mindset that you create throughout the day, every day, throughout your entire life. That's what I
Wow.
say. You're the creator of your success and happiness. You do it.
That's just amazing, Steve, that what a journey. What an amazing journey from the time you're young. You knew you were gifted and making people laugh. So you must have been the kid that was the class clown. That's kind of what I'm picturing. Yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So not only was I voted least likely to succeed in my senior class, I was voted class clown, and I was funny. But back then, I used humor as a shield, as an emotional shield for the inadequacy that I felt. You
Mhm.
know, I there were so many things that I look back on. I had regrets for a great part of my life, but I don't anymore, because, as I said, I learned from it. I was Even though I was small in stature, I was really good in athletics and football. I was very good, and the coaches couldn't understand when we would have gym class how fast I was and how I can grab the ball and just run around people. Why won't you join the team? And I was afraid that I would fail. I never joined football. I never joined the football team. My younger brother Rocky did, and he was great. I went to all his games, but I got to tell you, there were times, Zena, where I was sitting in the stands and I could feel the tears and the frustration. Happy for my brother that he scored a touchdown, but I'm 16 years old, just sitting in the stands, going, "Holy crap! I, I could be doing this," but I just couldn't get myself to join, thinking that, what if I fail? What if I don't do well? Because my father came to all of the practices. What if I screwed up in front of him? And I just never did it. I never did it. But
Yeah, That's and I know your big brother, you had a great relationship with your big brother. Hi, Elisa. So good to see you on here. And you can always watch the replay, Elisa, if you've got to get going. It will definitely be up because yeah, Steve's gonna definitely drop some amazing nuggets of wisdom. So for sure, come back and watch this if you can't watch the full thing right now, and also share this out. Steve, so yes, so your big brother, he was someone that you had really developed a close relationship with. Tell us a little bit about that too, because I think that's very important as well, because I think that
Yeah,
also helped shape you.
yeah. So when I say I turned my life around, it really wasn't me. Um, it was people in my life, and my brother Michael was the main person in my life. He's 100% disabled from the Vietnam War, and I'm not going to tell his this whole story, but he's 100% disabled from the Vietnam War. He recently passed away. He's the only man in medical history that ever survived that wound. He was in a hospital for 7 months. He went from 168 pounds to 88 pounds, 90 pounds, and he gradually defied the odds. Doctor said he wouldn't live long. They're wrong. He lived a very long life. He went back to the same school that he graduated from, which was the same school I graduated from. And he decided, first he went to college. We didn't think he'd be able to do it. He graduated with high honors. He went back to that same school that he graduated from. He became a history teacher, an attendance officer, then assistant principal, then principal. When he wanted to retire, they made him superintendent of the entire school. But I learned from what he did to defy the odds. And I can do two of your programs that's talking about him. But what he did with his life was, and I studied that. I was always asking myself, well, how did he do what he did? What strategies did he use? And the strategies that he used to turn his life around, and that this came after years of talking with him and studying him. And I never really learned half as much by what he said, by the actions that he took. I would always say, how the hell is he able to do this? He shouldn't even be alive. And now he's superintendent of schools. And he left a legacy in that school that is, they have a bust of him in the main lobby of the school, of the high school. He's the only teacher that ever thought about doing. They have a Michael John Rizzo scholarship right after he passed away. If you would have seen the people that were at his wake and funeral, we had a 60 to 70 car funeral procession going to the cemetery. There were 5 Marines circling his coffin, playing taps and saluting him with a 5-gun salute. You know, it was a whole thing. People set this up. And I'm going off track a little bit. I just want to let your audience know what an impact he had on people, and me included. And these strategies that I used to turn his life around were very simple. I call them common sense success strategies. He he defied the odds. He had an incredible sense of humor. That's one of the strategies that I used. He used humor as a bounce back factor. He made a conscious choice to enjoy himself during the rebuilding process, which is something that a lot of people don't do. Most people, when they're confronted with a mental, emotional, physical ailment or an illness, first thing they say is, I'll enjoy myself if and when I get better. My brother didn't do that. He said, I'm going to do this during the rebuilding process. I will make every attempt to enjoy myself during this rebuilding process. And as a result, that mindset helped him to get better. Now, you might say, well, how did he do that with so much missing? Um, he focused on what was working rather than fixating what isn't working. He blessed what life has given him rather than cursing what life was was currently throwing at him. 21 feet of his small intestine were blown out on the battlefield or taken out on the operating table. He only had 1 foot of small intestine. His kidneys were damaged. Everything. They gave him up. They said there's no way he could survive. And they kept saying to mom and dad that, just prepare. You got to prepare for the ultimate. This is what's going to happen eventually. And every time they told him he couldn't do it, he just went like this to them. That's what he did.
He
As a
defied
matter of
all
Go ahead. What?
so he defied all odds is what
Oh
I
yeah. And you know what, Zena? The turning point was the turning point. He wasn't when he was in the hospital. He wasn't. He We were ordered not to give him solid foods. Doctor said you can't give him solid foods. He can't eat solid foods because with 1 foot of small intestine, they didn't think he'd be able to sustain any food with substance that would just come right out of him. But my brother defied those odds. And every now and then, when the doctors weren't there, we would sneak him slices of pizza, meatball heroes. And one day, this was a big turning point. This was the attitude my brother had. And this was one of the biggest things I learned from him. The thing I learned from him: never let anyone tell you what you can and can't do, ever. And that stuck with me. That's one of my greatest strengths. So, my brother Rocky and I, when the doctors weren't there, we slipped him a meatball hero and a slice of pizza, and he's devouring it. Three of the doctors are walking in now down the hallway into his room, and they're looking at him eating this meatball hero. And these doctors were pissed off. I can't believe you're eating this. You're not supposed to be doing this. They're yelling at my brother and I for giving him the food. And the one doctor goes, "Don't you understand? We're trying to help you. 21 feet of your small intestine are missing. Do you understand me?" My brother, I never seen him this angry. With He had very little strength, but with the strength that he had, he took the meatball hero and he hurled it at one of the doctors. Hit the doctor square in the chest. Meatball sauce was all over his face, all over his jacket. And he goes, "Now you listen to me. You guys keep telling me what I can't do. You guys keep reminding me that 21 feet of my intestine are missing, and I'm trying to focus on to see what I can do with the 1 foot I have left." He said, "Get the hell out of here. We're doing it my way." Whoa.
Wow.
2 days later, one of those doctors came back, and I was right next to my brother. It was just me and my brother. The doctor sat at the head of the bed, tapped my brother on the leg, and said, "You might have something there. We're going to do it your way from now on. Let's see what happens." And from that moment on, every little step, even the slightest little thing, like going to the bathroom by himself, was a notch on his victory belt. It like wow, I did what they told me I couldn't do. And he took that every step, and he lived long enough where the rest of his digestive system was able to compensate for what his small intestine could no longer do. It was mind over matter. The mindset that he created was insane. Had a great sense of humor.
Wow. Wow. That is, yeah, what a fighter, what a guy. I really wish I could have met him before he passed, but I'll get to meet him one day. Uh
Yeah,
the
you can
other
meet it through me because I'm using his strategies. You know, when this stuff happened to him, he never said why me, which is another strategy that I learned from him. He never said why. He never complained. He got pissed off at himself sometimes, but he never said. And isn't that what we have a tendency to do, all of us? You're setting up to achieve a goal. Everything's going great. Then you hit a wall. The first thing you do is go, "Oh, why me? Why is this happening to me?" As soon as you say that, people don't realize this. You open up the door to the negative zone, and you're inviting more like thoughts to come into play. And now you start saying to yourself, "This figures every time I try to do it, it never works. I'm always going 2 steps up and 5 steps back. I'm never going to get better." That's what a lot of people do. But he never said, "Why me?" He said, "This is me. This is what I have. This is what I have left. What do I have to do to live the life that I want to live? I know I'm not going to be able to do what I was put on this planet to do, but what can I do to get from here to here? Who can I go to that can help me? What kind of strategies can I implement to take it one step at a time while enjoying the process?" And that's the mindset that he created. And he would not falter from that. He had his setbacks, but he always bounced back.
Yeah, and obviously you absolutely use that strategy because look at you. You defied all odds. You were voted most likely to not succeed, and
Yeah.
look at you.
Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So
And he's the one that got me to go to college.
that's amazing. Yeah.
Scared the hell out of me. He came up to me. By the way, he was a psychologist too. I mean, the guy was brilliant. And one day he knew that I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. This is before I went to college. And it was 6 years after high school. And I was hanging out with a lot of tough people. Most of the guys that I hung out with are either dead or they're in prison now. Okay. That's a fact. So my brother didn't like where I was going. And he came up to me and he said, "Hey, Steve, I got an idea. You're not working right now. You got laid off. Why don't you come to college with me?" This is when he was going to college. I said, "Why?" He goes, "I don't know. I just thought it'd be cool." He goes, "I could use the company. Just go to some of my classes with me. Go for 2 weeks. You don't have to do anything. Just sit there." And I said, "All right, what the hell?" So I sat in his history classes, English classes, and his psych classes and all that. And one day, after about a week and a half, we're walking over to the administration building. I said, "Where are we going?" He goes, "We're going to the administration building. I'm signing you up for college for next semester." And I said, "Mike, I'm not doing this." And I got real emotional. I got scared. That fear, those negative labels hit me with a vengeance. I said, "Michael, I can't do this. I am not smart enough to do." And he grabbed me the first time and only time he ever grabbed me like this. He was only 105 pounds at the time. He goes, "Look at me." He goes, "Look at me. Look at me. I'm nothing but bones. If I can do this, you can do this, and you're going to do it. Just trust me on this." And he signed me up for 12 credits, easy classes, a history, an English, an art, and a music class. I went, I was nervous the first 2 weeks. And after that, whoa, I just got sucked right into it and loved it. And I graduated with high honors.
Yay.
Yeah.
Look at you. So here's the thing that's amazing, Steve. So here you were the headliner comedian for Chris Rock,
Yeah.
Drew Carey,
Yeah.
and Jerry Seinfeld. Now, these are household names now because everyone knows who these people are. You, at the top of your career, you decided this isn't for me anymore. Tell us what that moment was like and why you chose to do that. Because for so many people, they think success is about fame and fortune. And here you were you pretty much were there and you said, oh, see ya, I'm doing something else.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. Um, by the way, when Chris Rock and those guys opened for me, this was before they were famous.
Right.
Okay. In the middle of my comedy career with these guys as my opening acts, I was headlining. I came to the harsh realization, which was very painful for me to admit to myself, that I was sabotaging my own success. And I'm wondering, why are my opening acts getting the big breaks? How come they're getting the sitcoms and the TV shows and the movies and all these commercials? How come opportunity isn't knocking on my door? And I realized I was afraid to open the door. What I mean by that is I had a great management team, I had a good PR team, and I had an agency. And every time my management team was trying to set me up to audition at one of the clubs in Los Angeles for a TV sitcom or a movie thing, I made an excuse that I couldn't do it because I'm already booked as a headliner at a theater in Omaha, Nebraska, or Des Moines, Iowa. And I use that as an excuse. And my manager's going, "That's not important. We'll get someone to take your place. You've got to take these opportunities because this is why you're doing what you're doing. You want to climb up the ladder to success." And I refused to do it. And I was using the excuse that we have a contract and I'm a big drawer at these places and I can't let my fans down. But deep inside, when I did the investigation on myself, on my soul, I realized, my God, you're afraid. You're afraid. You'd rather be a big fish in a small pond than a little minnow in the ocean. And I knew that when you audition, Zena, when you audition for a movie or a sitcom, the whole audience is filled with industry people. It's not a regular audience. Those are eyes looking at you, staring at you, taking notes. And you're supposed to be making people laugh, but they're too busy taking notes. Gee, maybe he'll be good in this part, or maybe they laugh, but not the old bursts of laughter that you're used to. And everyone knew that, but I was afraid that I was going to be judged, and I actually convinced myself that they were going to judge against me. So I never did it. It's amazing what your fears can do to you, what those toxic labels that we wear unknowingly. You don't even know it's happening to you until I became aware when I said, "Oh my God, that's where this is coming from." The being voted least likely to succeed, being told by teachers that I was an idiot, being told by a guidance counselor I wasn't smart enough, and just life experiences. You create this belief system that is toxic and you don't know it. So when I was aware of what I was doing to myself, I said, screw this. And I was determined, thinking about what my brother did. And I had many talks with him. And I went on a quest to better myself. I read almost every self help book you could imagine. I went to spiritual seminars, motivational seminars, Tony Robbins seminars, and this major shift took place in my life. And this took time. Within years, I'm still doing stand up. My belief system was impeccable. I had a belief in myself that was incredible. And that's when the entertainment industry was really interested in me. But I was no longer interested in them. Because of that quest that I went on, I realized that my mission in life is to help people to be the best that they can be, regardless of their circumstances. And when I when I was doing stand up and still going to those Tony Robbins seminars to better myself and spiritual seminars, there was a part of me that when I'm watching Tony Robbins, I'm sitting there and there's thousands of people and he's got them in the palm of his hands. And this was a turning point. I picked up a pen on the pad and I wrote down on a pen. I wasn't even aware that I was writing this. And I wrote down as I'm looking at him, I can do this. I put the pen down. I'm listening to him again. I'm looking at everyone's face, engaged on this man, giving them life lessons. And I'm going, I'm a teacher. I should do this. I write it down. About 20 minutes later, I write it. I wrote, F it. I'm doing this. I still have it. It's right there, hanging on my wall. That paper, I took it and I have it framed. And right then and there, I knew I was going to leave stand up. It wasn't an abrupt thing, but it was fast for a lot of people. My roommate was Drew Carey at the time.
Wow.
And when I came back from an audition, I was living in Long Island, but 6 months out of the year, I had an apartment with Drew in California, in Hollywood. And he asked me how an audition went. I said, it went great, man. It went really good. And he says, what do you want to do for dinner? And I just looked at him and he came out. He said, you do what you want. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going back home to my wife. And he goes, what are you talking about? He goes, you're leaving stand up? And we had a big argument. And he said something to me that was a turning point. He said, how could you leave now? You're so close. And I went, how could I be close to something I don't want anymore? I don't want it. And 2 weeks later, I left. My manager sued me. My agent was begging me to see a psychiatrist, see somebody, because they thought I went off the wall. I understand that. I get it because the industry was like after Steve Rizzo. And I just went, Steve Rizzo is not interested in you anymore. And every now and then, I did it. And all of a sudden I started getting bookings and as a speaker, and I became a member of the National Speakers Association. I became a member of the Speaker Hall of Fame, which is a very prestigious award. And, but for the first year or two, I look at TV and I'm looking at Chris Rock on his own HBO special. And then all of a sudden, Kevin James has his own sitcom and Seinfeld is kicking ass. And I'm going, what if I would have stayed? What if I would have stayed as a comedian? What would have happened? And I realized, though, the answer always was you wouldn't have been following your heart. You wouldn't have been following your heart. So I did the right thing.
You did.
Yeah.
Hi, Debbie. So good to see you. She says, hi, my bestie, Steve Rizzo, and she loves Zena's show. Thank you for being here, Debbie.
I love Debbie.
I love you too, Debbie. So, and by the way, Steve and Debbie, they have a show together.
Yeah.
What's it called, Steve?
Hey, I'm talking here. It's every other Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. So make sure you tune in because they are great together for sure.
Oh, yeah. We are really good together. We're perfect. We really are.
Yeah.
We get along really good. What amazes me with her when we're doing my show is when I'm serious, sometimes she starts laughing.
Yeah.
I try.
You're just naturally funny.
What can I say? Yeah. How can I say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I find that very courageous and brave, like you, because you had mentioned, that you were fearful. You just knew deep down inside that this wasn't what you wanted anymore. That was not your sole purpose anymore.
Yeah.
And to let go of something that was basically right in front of your face that you could have grabbed onto, and yet you knew and you listened. You listened to that voice inside because you knew you had a deeper purpose.
Yeah.
So I really want to, I guess, talk about that a little bit more because so many people, so many gurus, so many people out there who are coaching and doing things really focus on maximizing your potential monetarily, but not as much as emphasized on purpose and impact.
Yeah.
So, walk us through the how that is important.
Yeah, it's if you're going to go after a job because the money's good, I mean, really good, you'll have fleeting glimpses of happiness, but in the long term, you'll be screwing yourself. You got to do what your heart's telling you to do. And another thing that's really important is that sometimes we get so caught up in trying to make a living that we forget what it's like to live. People who are into the money thing put so much overtime into their lives trying to make more money, more money, more money, and they're leaving out sacred parts of themselves by the wayside, and they're not even aware that they're doing it. But I always say, if you love what you do, the money will come. There's a book out that was written many years ago. Love what you do, and the money will come. I think that's the name of the book. Um, if money is going to be a main objective, it will come back to haunt you. It really will. Because and fame too. That's another thing that goes along with money. If you're doing something to be famous, um, again, you got to start asking yourself, am I following my heart? There are two voices inside you, and some people call it the ego, and some people call it your higher part of yourself. And I call the ego the big mouth inside your head, and the other part, my authentic self, or the Bob part of you from my book, Conversations with Bob. It's actually the God part of you. And we have a choice throughout our whole lives as to which voice you're going to listen to. So when I was left the stand-up thing, every now and then when I was watching Chris Rock, and he's a big star now, the big mouth inside my head was saying, see, maybe you shouldn't have left. Maybe you should have stayed there. Or even when I was making that decision to go from stand-up to be a speaker, that big mouth was really loud. Oh, I can't believe you're going to do this. You spent 25 years of your life being a comedian. Now you're going to leave. You did the same thing when you were a teacher. You were a teacher, then you left to be a comedian. What are you going to do? What are you going to just settle down? You're married now. Just take advantage of your gift and go that way. That's not your heart. That's just your fame and fortune part of you talking. I could have listened to that voice, but every now and then when I would shift my way of thinking and listen to the God part of me, I knew, because that's a subtle part. It's very quiet, but it's very powerful when you acknowledge it. It buries the big mouth inside your head. And when you listen to that part and you notice how you feel, it's that feeling that acknowledges that you're doing the right thing.
And that
There's nothing wrong with money, Zena. Don't get me wrong. I love money. I make good money. I make great money. But there are times when I'm on that platform and I'm actually saying to myself, and I can get emotional while I'm thinking it, I can't believe they pay me for this. That's how much I love what I do. When you can say that, when you can say that, then you're successful.
That's awesome. I'm really glad that you defined what success is because and you're right. Money itself is not a bad thing. We need it to pay bills and we need it to put groceries and food on the table and that sort of thing. But, but loving it above anything else, loving it above your own purpose, you're right in that it life becomes empty. So you could achieve all those things because there's a lot of famous people who have a lot of money, but then you start hearing stories of how miserable they actually are.
Yeah, and you're right. And you know why? Because they put their happiness on hold. It doesn't matter how much you have. It's just that they create a mindset that says, um, I've seen comedians do this, and I was one of them. When we started out doing stand up together, we loved it because it was an opportunity to make people laugh. It's so empowering that you can do that. The power you have, you're in control, you're on stage, and you're making people laugh, hundreds, thousands of people. But then all of a sudden, that started weaning off. Then all of a sudden, show business became a business. And then all of a sudden your mind starts playing tricks on you. Well, this isn't good enough now. Now I want a headline. Well, that's not good enough. Now I want to get my HBO special. Well, now that I got the HBO special, now I'll be happy when I get a sitcom. And that's the mindset that these people, these famous people have created. It's not enough to be nominated best actor, in the Academy Awards. That's great. And that feels great for a couple of months. But all of a sudden now, that clawing, what am I going to do next? And you're putting your happiness on hold again. My point is, there's no reason why you can't enjoy every step of the journey. As a matter of fact, I believe that when you're setting out to achieve a goal, it's not the destination. That's not the goal. The journey should be the goal. Your goal should be to enjoy every step on the process along the way to the destination. In my view, the goal is just the icing on the cake. The journey is the cake. What good is all of that icing without a cake to put it on? And people bypass that. And they finally get it. Oh, look, I finally made my million. I'm happy. I'm happy. Let's celebrate. Let's do this. And all of a sudden, a short amount of time, that mindset stays with them. What else do I need to make me happy? You don't need anything to make you happy. Happiness is within your fingertips right now. It's just that we're so caught up in what we don't have and what we want and what we don't think we're going to get. That's what makes us miserable. I have found at this point in my life, with all the wonderful things I have in my home, that's not what really makes me happy. What makes me happy is my son, who just left an hour and a half ago, who put his arms around me, drove here just to tell me how much he loves me. And he's 44 years old. That's what matters. That is what matters. And because I'm so proud of him of what he did with his life. And the fact that a 44-year-old man can come up to his 72-year-old father, drive all the way from where he lives, which is a distance, just to let me know that he loved me and he was proud of me and to thank me for this and thank me for that. And that's happiness. When I look at my grandkids and the way that they're growing up, that's happiness. I look at my neighbors in this condominium complex that I'm here, and it's it's these little things. When I first moved here, I introduced myself to these three elderly women. And I'm 72, but they seem a lot older than I was. And I told her my name, and she said, "Well, you look like a Charlie. You don't look like a Steve." I said, "Okay, okay. Call me Charlie, and you three are my angels." So
Did you
that
say
whenever I see them, they say, "Hi, Charlie." I say, "Hello, angels. How are you today?" And we laugh and we talk. That's happiness. That little thing that I just shared with you. The way they can't wait to come to their door when they see me walk into my place, just to yell out, "Hey, Charlie, we missed you. How was your gig in Lake Tahoe?" Eh, That puts a smile on my face. It's so simple. Right after this, at some point later on today at about 5 o'clock, I'll go to my favorite Italian restaurant right across the street from where I live. I have my own name on the bar. They have my name there, and it's my seat. I sit there and I have dinner there. Those are the things that I look forward to. We laugh our asses off. We have fun. I'm there. I have a table in the restaurant area where people have a problem. It's called the Rizzo table. And I talk to someone and try to iron it out for them to help them. And I'm like a semi celebrity at this place, but I love the place. I love the people. That's what makes me happy. It has nothing to do with money.
yeah. So
Charlie
Debbie says
Rizzo.
Charlie Rizzo. But I have to laugh because when you were saying Charlie, I thought you said trolley, and it took
Oh,
me a while to realize
oh
it was
no, Charlie Rizzo. You know what? She's going to call me Charlie now from now on. On my show, she's going to call me Charlie. I know it.
oh, well, either
Oh,
that or Mr. Bossy Pants.
that's my real nickname for her, Mr. Bosley Pants.
That's what they should have on the table, right, Debbie?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
No.
yeah. And I learned this happy thing from my brother Michael too. It was the little things on his way back to normality. Is like I said, when he just found the courage and the strength to go to the bathroom, the smile on his face for days. I did it. I did it. And then he took more steps. And then when he started going to college, it was just those little steps. I look back on my life right now and I realized how many good times I bypassed because I was so caught up in fear that I wouldn't get what I desired in life. And I kept putting my happiness on hold. And a lot of people have been cursed with that mindset. And the scary thing is, Zena, they're not aware of what they're doing to themselves. They don't know that they're creating a, a, a disempowering mindset.
Mhm.
Happiness will always be steps ahead of you if you have that type of mindset.
Yes, and Steve, I am so blessed to be learning this at my age because I will admit I was stuck in that mindset for quite some time. And I was very much a task oriented, check things off the list, make sure I achieved the goals that I set before me, and I would fail to enjoy the journey along the way. The beautiful thing is that I have a husband who says, slow it down. You need to enjoy things." And now getting to meet people like you who truly are examples of how important that is.
Yeah, oh, it's crucial, and you have a great show, and you are really good.
Oh,
I told you were good at it. The first time you interviewed me, I was when we ended our podcast and I went on my business. I just said, "Wow, that you did a scrupulous job back then." So
well, thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate your encouragement.
that's okay. A little plug here and there doesn't hurt. And that's another thing. That's another thing with my son talking about just enjoying the simple things. That's another reason why he came over here because he just moved in his new house, and I heard him and his wife saying to each other, "Oh God, I'll be happy when we finally get all the furniture in there. I'll be happy when we get everything organized. Right now, everything is too." And I said, "Listen to you two." They said, "What?" I said, You've got your life in a knot right now. You just bought your dream house, the house that you always wanted. Now you have it, and you're saying you won't be happy until everything is organized. It's it's the putting the furniture in the house is what you should be excited about. It's the fact that the moving people are getting your stuff from the old house, putting it in the new house, and you're buying new furniture to put in the bedrooms. This should be exciting for you. And you're complaining about it because you're saying you're not going to enjoy it until it's all put together. That's absurd.
Yeah,
That's absurd. And,
you're
and
right.
unless you become aware of what you're doing to yourself, that will always happen to you.
The subconscious mind
Yep.
takes over that
Yep.
because it's
Yep.
been imprinted for so long.
Yeah. Subconscious runs 97% of your life. And I call the subconscious the genie of your soul. So if you're saying to yourself, I won't be happy until I reach a certain status, the genie of your soul is saying, your wish is my command. If you want to wait that long for you to be happy, I could wait. And that mindset will always stay with you. Always.
Yeah, very good point, Steve. So for those that struggle, and or maybe there's a spouse that has come along, or your person that have come to realize it, but then you have a spouse or family member that may still be stuck in that. How does one help somebody else along? Do you
Well,
have any?
it's a great question. You got to let people, sometimes you give them, especially if it's someone that you admire, give them a little slap in the back of the head and say, did you hear what you just said? And then you repeat. That's what I did with my son, with the house and my daughter in law. I gave them both slaps in the back of the head. I said, listen to what you're saying. You have your dream house and you're turning it into a nightmare because it's too chaotic for you right now. Are you serious? Look what you have, and you're not enjoying it. So you make that person aware of what they're doing. And you can do it from here. A little touch of sarcastic humor always helps, though, because if you could do it that way, you're really making that person aware of what an idiot they were for saying what they just said. And then give them, perhaps you should look at it from this perspective.
Yeah,
Well,
for
you
sure.
look at it from this perspective, give them an alternative.
Yeah, for sure. And Steve can tell you that it's constant practice to stay in the moment mindset.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to do it every day. Bob says it to Bernie in my book. Bob tells because Bernie was, he resided in the negative zone, and he kept saying, Bernie, being positive one day is not going to help you. This has to be an ongoing process. You have to wake up with and create your own unstoppable attitude to succeed, regardless of your circumstances. And it starts as soon as you open up your eyes to greet the day. Soon as you open up your eyes to greet the day, you enter into consciousness. At that moment, you have an opportunity to steer your thoughts and your emotions in the direction you want them to go, not in the direction that they are so often telling you to go. In other words, you can choose to seize the day when you wake up in the morning, or you can let the day seize you. Most people start their days, didn't even take the covers off. The first thing they focus on is the challenging day they had the day before, all the fires that won't put out, maybe the traffic jam that they have to be in, all the stuff that has to be done on that day. And they can't even understand when they're starting out, they just got out of bed, their energy level is down here. When you think about what needs to be done on any given day, your energy level has to be cranked. And that's your choice and your responsibility. So
Yeah.
when you wake up in the morning, yes, can I get an amen? Bob knows. So when you wake up every morning, before you take the covers off, rather than focusing on everything that needs to be done on that day, say to yourself, who do I have to be in order to get it done? What mindset do I have to create that has to start right now for me to get things done? And then you focus on what's working rather than fixating on what isn't working. You start blessing all the things that life has given you rather than complaining and whining about what life is currently throwing at you. We all have the power to do this. It's just that it's part of the human condition for us to focus on what's not working rather than focusing on what is working. And we can think of millions of excuses to confirm that we're right.
Yeah.
So, and
Do
that's
you,
got to be done before you take the covers off.
wow, before you hit the feet on the ground and
Yep.
leave for the day. That's great. That's great advice for sure. And so in the beginning, Steve, when you were trying to change your mindset or working to change your mindset, did you find that it was harder in the beginning where you had more days and more effort you had to put into? And is it easier now? I mean, is it
It
as
still happens, but it's a lot easier. See, you can't get rid of your toxic labels. I want everyone to know that. People try to get rid of them. You can't. They're always there. They're deep. You got to push them deep in the canyons of your mind. But just know that they're ready to explode at any time. And all it takes is one negative thought. For instance, like I said earlier, if you're setting out to achieve something and it's really going good, but then all of a sudden the bottom really falls out, that can happen. That can happen to anybody. It happens when you're setting out to on the road to success. Shit's going to happen to you. But if you go into, damn it, I knew this was going to happen. From that moment on, that snowball effect, because then you keep doing the negative self-talk. I can't believe this is happening. Everybody else has what I want. Dreams are for other people. I'm not one of them. Now those thoughts are solidifying an already negative belief system. And those beliefs will cause the way that you feel. Those feelings will lead to the attitude that you have on that day. Think about that when you're trying to achieve something. You can't you can't stay on that road to success if you have a negative attitude. And that attitude is formulated by the feelings that you created, and the feelings are formulated by the belief that you created, and that belief is formulated by those thoughts that you were continuously thinking that entire day. And you did that to yourself.
self-sabotage?
That's the number one reason why people consistently fail in business,
Mm.
because they're not aware of what they're doing to themselves. They get so caught up in what isn't working, and what where they thought they were going to go, and they make a challenging situation worse than what it has to be. It's called, some people call it negative self-talk. I call it self-curse talk, because you're casting a spell on your life. It's impossible to stay motivated throughout the day if you are harboring negative emotions or if you have a bad attitude during the process. The number one reason why people consistently fail in business and in life, it's not because of the situation, the event, or the circumstance. It's because somewhere along the line, positive momentum ceases. And the reason why positive momentum ceases is because the individual is just focusing on all the shit that they think life is throwing at them.
I'm so glad that you pointed out that that voice that whispers don't ever completely stop, because I think some people have
No,
been geared to thinking that if I practice enough, it's going to completely go away.
no,
But I'm glad that you mentioned that, and that it's a choice. It's a choice that you make every single day, every single moment, and that, like anything that you do, it gets a little easier to put away as you hone that skill in. As
absolutely. And as soon as it happens, Zena, you talk back to it. And I use my New York attitude voice. They, like it happened to me not too long, a few days ago. I was just like, oh man, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I took, as a matter of fact, I was with Bruce, my director and producer of my podcast. We were trying to record something, and I have vertigo, and it never hit me while I was speaking, like I was trying to record something, and I kept screwing up. And I took my book, the very chair that I'm sitting in, I took this book and I threw it up against the wall. I was frustrated at myself, and I knew right then and there, if I would have continued with that, I would never have been able to regain the energy that I needed to do that video. It would have been a while before I would have calmed down. So I just told Bruce, I need a quick break. Please wait. And I went inside my other room. I talked back to that big mouth inside my head, that voice. I said, nope, you're not going to do this. I know I'm getting dizzy, but I can handle this. I'll just meditate a little bit. I went right back to the camera, and it worked. I could have
Awesome.
let it consume me, though. I could have let it really, the dizzy spells could have been even worse than what they were.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's just the key is for sure, like you said, to just tell yourself and overcome that moment. And sometimes it's moment by moment, I feel like
Oh, yeah.
that I can't just focus on I'm gonna get through today. It's I have to get through this moment first,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna talk about the other moments after.
And you can do that in every facet of your life, too, because we allow everyday situations to annoy us. You're at a supermarket and you think all of a sudden you're going to be on the fast line, but the person in front of you decides they want to pay for it with a check, and they only have like 3 items and they can't find the checkbook, and you're in a hurry, and you're just going, you got to be kidding me. You just got to be kidding me, right? You hear people in back of you. They go, people don't realize that that little annoyance goes with you when you get into your car,
Yeah.
and maybe you're going to work from there, or maybe it's your kid's on a birthday or whatever it is. You're taking that with you. But when you become aware of that self-curse talk, that little annoyance, and some people even go as far as saying, I can't believe this. Idiots like this shouldn't be in a store if they don't know how to go shopping. Why the hell would you have a check with 3 items? And the tension that we build up in ourselves, not to mention what it does to you spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. Because if you're doing that in that store, you're doing it in other facets of your life. You have that impatience everywhere you go. I've seen it happen at airports.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's when you go home and kick the dog, so they
Yeah.
say.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Or you take it out on your family at work. You just take it, you go home. How was work today? I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so sad. So I've got steverizzo.com scrolling across the bottom here because that is where you guys need to go to find out more about Steve. He is phenomenal. If you want to book him for your events, he is an incredible speaker. He is a Hall of Fame speaker. I mean, so not only was he a top comedian, but he is a Hall of Fame speaker, and he can absolutely help your business, your events, your whatever you've got going on. So I want to make sure that people know how to get a hold of Steve. And then also, when you're there, go ahead and get your copy of Conversations with Bob. This is a great book. He is such a great writer, so creative. And so I want to make sure that you guys get to that website and order this because Steve is just inspirational. He's very impactful, and you can tell very authentic, and he's funny too. So, and even in his writing, he's even funny. So, I guess he really is gifted. So,
Yeah, you're right. I am, but thanks.
uh, and so, Steve, as we wrap this, gosh, this time just goes by so fast when we
I
sit
know.
here
Yeah.
and chat. But is there anything else you would like to leave us with today for those that are thinking about making that change, thinking about they're at the crossroads, but they're not sure? What would you, and I know you've talked a lot already of how you got there. What would be the one thing right now that you would tell them?
Follow your heart. Say no to fear. Know that you are the creator of your success and happiness. You know what it is. You know what it is, what you want to do. Follow your heart and do it one step at a time. If you say you don't know how to do it, talk to somebody that might know how to do it. Somebody asked me, what's one of the major keys to your success? I was never afraid to ask for help, ever. So if you want to do something and you have to find out how to do the first step, go to someone that knows how to do it and ask them. and say, "Can you help me?" I've never had anyone say no to me ever, because people always want to help other people. And if you approach them properly and say, "This is what I want to do," say if you want to write a book. I don't know how to write a book. I just know there's something within me, and I love writing, but I don't know. Just go to people who've written books and say, "What was your first step? How did you do it?" Just ask tons of questions. And if you hear that big mouth inside your head trying to talk you out of it, there's another voice inside you, your authentic part of you, which is a silent voice, but it's incredibly way more powerful than a big mouth. Acknowledge the silent voice and talk to it, and ask, how can I get from here to there? Who can I go to that can help me? And be aware, because the answers will come within a couple of days. May not happen right away, but you'll be guided somewhere. Maybe a commercial, maybe a billboard, maybe you'll hear two people having a conversation. Trust in that higher power, the God part of you, the higher part of you, the true part of you, whatever you want to call it. We all have it. It's up to you to acknowledge it. And the more you do, the easier life becomes. That's a fact.
Oh, bravo, Steve. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Oh, you are a fabulous guy, and truly, Steve is very humble man as well. So he is this high successful fella, but he is so humble in heart, and so he is absolutely approachable. And I just love you, Steve. So thank you so much.
Please call me Charlie.
Trolley. Okay, I'll call you Trolley.
I love it. Yeah, Charlie. Thank you, Zay. I love you.
All right. We will see you later, Steve. All right. Goodbye. Thank you guys for being here today. And when you're watching this, if you're watching this on the replay, please be sure to share this out. Don't keep it to yourself. This is some great, great wisdom. So, you guys go out there and be a blessing and impact the world. There's no time like today to get out there and make the changes that need to be changed. So, I'm going to say goodbye and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.